The third year I was being kept by Hank Price, I got pregnant. I was lying in his arms when I asked, "Do you want a kid?" He shot me a look of contempt. "No, I hate kids. I'm with a man. Why would I want a kid? I'm never going to have children." Dejected, I hid the ultrasound report. He didn't know that intersex people could get pregnant. 2. To have the baby, I ran away. I was in a small rental apartment, getting through my first trimester, when Hank kicked down the door. His eyes were red as he demanded, "We're having a baby. Why would you hide such amazing news from me?" Hank was unusually rough tonight. Unbelievably so. It all started when he took me to a gala. At the party, someone offered me a drink. I didn't know what his real intentions were, I just assumed he was one of Hank's friends. After chatting with him for a few minutes, I took the drink and was about to take a sip. Hank appeared just in time, splashing the contents of the glass in the other man's face. Only then did I realize the drink had been drugged. "Baby, you'll just drink whatever anyone hands you? I saw you two having such a great time. What were you talking about? Were you going to leave with him? Answer me." Hank's pace was slow and deliberate, his questions punctuated by his thrusts. My hands gripped the sheets. I could barely string a sentence together. Tears streamed down my face. Hank wiped them away, then kissed my lips. "What are you crying for? If I hadn't been watching, do you have any idea what they would have done to you tonight?" A vicious look flashed in his eyes. Honestly, I was terrified too, but I also felt wronged. I turned my head away and argued, "I thought he was one of your friends. You can't just go around offending people at these kinds of parties." Hank chuckled, grabbing my chin to turn my face back to him. "Anyone with me doesn't need to be afraid of offending anyone. Got it?" I gave a slight nod. Hank leaned down to kiss me as if giving me a reward. His kisses traced a path down my collarbone. The chill in my body was replaced by a spreading heat. Suddenly, Hank lifted his head, his voice full of surprise. "Baby, have you noticed? They've gotten bigger lately." I squeezed my eyes shut in shame. He'd found out. Would he be disgusted? My already abnormal body had started going through some strange changes recently. I asked nervously in a small voice, "You don't like it?" He brightened the lights, studying me closely. His gaze made me so uncomfortable I curled my toes. He suddenly reached out. I cried out in surprise. He looked up, a smirk playing on his lips. "Baby, who said I don't like it? My Julian is just full of surprises." When I woke up the next morning, Hank had already left for work. My t-shirt rubbed against the raw skin on my chest. It hurt. My legs were so sore, it felt like I'd run a marathon. I lay in bed, not wanting to move an inch. I opened my phone and started scrolling. A local news story was trending on my feed. The son of some corporate bigwig had been arrested for illegal activities. I took a closer look. Wasn't this the guy who'd handed me the drink last night? This had Hank's fingerprints all over it. It was in moments like these that I'd get the illusion that Hank actually loved me. But I knew better. He didn't. He just hated it when other people coveted his things. Even if it was just a thought with no action taken, it wasn't allowed. I was like his pet, his property. When Hank got home from work, he pulled me into his arms. When his hand brushed against a certain spot, I grunted. Hank asked, "Does it hurt?" I nodded. Hank turned up the thermostat and said in a commanding tone, "The fabric of this shirt is too rough. Take it off." I refused to move. He wasn't actually concerned about me. He was just trying to satisfy his twisted cravings. He said slowly, "Do you want me to help you?" I reluctantly took it off. Hank's searing gaze was fixed on me. I felt awkward and turned my back to him. A minute later, he placed his hands on my shoulders and turned me around. He was holding a tube of ointment. "Let me put some of this on for you." The process was slow and agonizing. By the time it was finally over, I was covered in sweat. Just as I was about to get up, a wave of nausea hit me. I rushed to the bathroom. I dry heaved for a while but didn't throw anything up. Hank followed me and pulled out a tissue to wipe my mouth. "Did you eat something bad?" "I guess so." That night, Hank just held me as we slept. Thinking about the recent changes in my body, I felt more and more terrified and uneasy. I hadn't eaten anything bad. But lately, I'd been feeling nauseous all the time. The next day, I went to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor calmly told me, "You're pregnant." The news hit me like a thunderbolt, leaving me frozen on the spot. I couldn't move. The doctor added gravely, "In the early stages of pregnancy, you can't have sex. It's very dangerous." I walked out of the hospital, my steps unsteady. I'm a man, and I'm pregnant. Can intersex people even get pregnant? I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. As I laughed, the tears started to fall. I really am becoming more and more of a monster. Hank came home before his usual time. He rushed into the bedroom. "Julian, you went to the hospital? What's wrong?" I peeked out from under the covers. "Stomach flu." The doctor gave me some medicine. Hank's brow furrowed as he pulled out his phone. "I'll have my private doctor come take a look." I quickly stopped him. "I'm fine. I'm just tired and want to sleep." Hank took a shower, then got into bed and held me. His warm hand gently rubbed my stomach. A wave of sadness washed over me. What would Hank do if he knew I was pregnant? I didn't dare tell him. After all, our relationship wasn't proper. My grandma raised me. Ever since I was born, my parents had called me a monster, neither boy nor girl. But Grandma didn't care. She raised me and even paid for my schooling. She would hold my skinny frame and say with pity, "Our Julian is not an unwanted child." I studied hard, determined to make something of myself and repay my grandma. But during my sophomore year of college, she suddenly fell gravely ill. Her surgery and follow-up treatments would cost a fortune. I went to my parents. They were just leaving for a vacation with my younger, perfectly normal brother. When my dad saw me, he took a few steps back. "We don't have that kind of money," he said impatiently. "Figure it out yourself. Your grandmother raised you all these years. It's about time you paid her back." To make money, I took on all sorts of part-time jobs. Tutoring, handing out flyers, making deliveries. Eventually, I discovered that the fastest way to earn was by working as a server at a high-end club. The rich clientele would give huge tips when they were in a good mood. But when they weren't, they wouldn't treat us like human beings. One night, during a late shift, a pot-bellied, middle-aged man dragged me into an empty private room. Just as he was about to force his disgusting thing into my mouth, Hank burst through the door and beat the man to a pulp. His friend teased, well, a knight in shining armor. "Hank, weren't you looking for a guy to piss off your old man? I think this one's pretty suitable." Hank looked down at me, sizing me up. "Are you coming with me or not?" I shook my head vigorously. $1 million a month. My eyes went wide. Grandma couldn't wait any longer. With $1 million, she could have the surgery and stay in a better hospital room. I nodded. Hank was fast with the money. It was in my account the next day. Our first time was at his house. I dawdled in the shower, not wanting to come out. I was terrified that once he saw my body, he'd regret it, that he'd make me give the $1 million back. As I stood there, lost and helpless, Hank impatiently pushed the bathroom door open. I quickly tried to cover myself, but he had already seen. His gaze was filled with surprise, then curiosity. I started apologizing frantically. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to deceive you. That $1 million, can I pay it back in installments?" In my panic, I grabbed a piece of clothing to cover myself. Only after I put it on did I realize it was Hank's white button-down. His eyes lingered on my bare thighs. His Adam's apple bobbed. "Take it off." Hank wasn't disgusted. He didn't think I was a monster. On the contrary, he touched me as if I were a precious treasure. He always said my body was beautiful. Besides the $1 million a month, I often received expensive gifts from him. I was flattered but had no way to repay him, so I just tried to be cooperative every time. And so 3 years went by. I went from a college student to a full-time comic artist. Hank was there to help and encourage me the whole way. We were a lot like the loving couple in my comics. But I knew the gap between us was as wide as the sky and the earth. Someone like me was only fit to be his canary, kept by his side. Now that I was pregnant, what was I going to do? Should I get an abortion? The pregnancy symptoms were becoming more obvious. Besides the sleepiness and nausea, a certain area was also getting bigger and bigger. 'Cause I wasn't feeling well. Hank had just been holding me to sleep lately, but his hands wouldn't stay still. Baby, how did they get bigger again? His expression sharpened as he stared at me. Are you taking some kind of pill? Don't mess around. Do you hear me? I nodded again and again. I wasn't taking any pills. The doctor said this was a normal pregnancy symptom, and there would be other changes as the pregnancy progressed. I was conflicted every day. To my surprise, after the initial terror and anxiety, I started talking to the little life inside me. This was my child. Besides my grandma, this was the person in the world I was closest to. I began to look forward to its arrival. Since I hadn't been feeling well, Hank canceled his social engagements to spend his evenings with me. He was so good to me. Maybe he'd accept this child, too? I decided to casually sound him out when he got home. Unfortunately, he called to say he had an engagement he couldn't get out of. I was used to sleeping in his arms. Tonight, with him gone, I tossed and turned. I took out my phone and scrolled through my social feed, happening upon a video. The caption read, "Someone's finally rekindling things with the one that got away." The poster was one of Hank's friends whom I'd added at a party once. In the video, Hank was talking to a man I'd never seen before. The man looked distinguished and had a bright smile. At first glance, his features looked a little like mine. Rekindling an old flame? What did that mean? I watched the video twice. When I went to watch it a third time, I found it had been deleted. Hank didn't get home until 2 in the morning, reeking of alcohol. After his shower, he pulled me into his arms as usual. I pretended to be asleep. I felt his lips lightly touch mine. After that night, Hank started going out more and more. I guessed he was seeing the person he was supposed to be rekindling things with. He would probably kick me out soon. As a kept man, I had no right to be jealous. But my heart still ached. Sometimes I'd be drawing my comic, and tears would just start falling for no reason. Even my followers said my art style had become melancholic lately. I'd been using all sorts of excuses to refuse sex. He didn't get annoyed, just assumed I still wasn't feeling well. A couple of days later, he said I was getting moldy from being cooped up at home and that I needed to get out with him and absorb some human energy. He took me to his friend's birthday party. At the party, I saw the man from the video. His name was Leo. He'd recently returned from studying abroad and was the youngest son of a local tycoon. He was also Hank's childhood friend. When Hank introduced us, I could feel his gaze on me, unabashedly probing and disdainful. After Hank was called away by an elder, I sat alone in a corner, eating a small cake. Suddenly, the conversation behind me drifted into my ears. Now that Hank's old flame is back, this cheap knockoff is probably going to be thrown out. Look at him acting all high and mighty. He's just someone's pet. You try to talk to him, and he just ignores you. When Hank's done with him, I'm going to pick him up and ravage him. Another man let out a sleazy laugh. Let's do it together. For his type, you just have to throw money at him. Hank played with him for 3 years and didn't get tired of it. Let's see what he tastes like. I clenched my fists. Hank had told me I didn't have to be afraid of offending anyone. But just as I picked up a wine bottle from the table and started to stand up, I saw Hank and Leo in the distance, standing in front of an elder, talking and laughing. I sank back down, defeated. I couldn't be impulsive. Things were different now. I was just a stand-in, and Hank's true love was back. He definitely wouldn't protect me anymore. I couldn't afford to offend these powerful people. I had to think about the baby in my belly. But the more I thought about it, the sadder I became. I finally understood the real meaning behind what Hank's friend had said when we first met. I think he's pretty suitable. It was because I looked like Leo. That's why I was suitable. It wasn't long before Hank came back to my side. The moment we got home, he pinned me against the wall in the entryway and started kissing me. Julian, why does everyone want to take you from me? His kisses grew heavier, his tone fierce. Are they even worthy? Only I get to see this beautiful body. Only I get to touch it. My resistance was obvious. Hank used his leg. He asked me again and again, "Baby, whose are you?" "Yours." "Who am I?" "Hank Price." My heart gave a heavy thump. Hank smiled, satisfied. But he still grumbled that I was being fussy. He tapped the tip of my nose with his finger and said helplessly, "I just spoil you too much." Hank's eyes were full of tenderness and doting. A sudden impulse rose in me to throw caution to the wind. I asked softly, "Hank, do you want a kid?" Surprise flickered in his eyes. Then, a look of contempt. "No, I hate kids. I'm with a man. Why would I want a kid? I'm never going to have children. Don't think about nonsense like that." A sourness pricked my nose, and I quickly dove under the covers. How could I have been so presumptuous as to ask that question? He hated kids. If he found out I was pregnant, he would definitely think I was a monster. He'd make me go to the hospital and get an abortion. I placed my hands on my stomach and made a decision. Before it starts to show, I have to leave. I had saved a lot of money over the past few years. Some from Hank, some I had earned myself. I contacted an old friend who lived out of state and asked him to help me rent an apartment. Grandma was in a retirement community. She was happy, playing mahjong and dancing every day. I told her I was going on a business trip for about a year to study. Although she was sad to see me go, she supported my decision. When I got back from the nursing home, Hank took me somewhere. A factory on the outskirts of the city. I asked, confused, "What are we doing here?" He pushed the door open, holding my hand tightly. "You'll see when we get inside." As soon as the door opened, I saw two men tied to chairs. They were cursing under their breath. The moment they saw Hank approach, they shut up. Hank kicked each of them. "At the banquet the other day, what did you say about Julian?" The two men played dumb. Hank slapped each of them. "I could crush your family's companies with my foot," he said casually. They started begging for mercy. "Mr. Price, we were wrong. We deserve to die. We shouldn't have coveted what's yours." Hank pulled me closer. "Baby, why didn't you tell me you were being treated like this? I told you, anyone with me doesn't need to be afraid of offending anyone." His hand covered mine, guiding me to pick up a small knife. He made me draw a line on each of their faces. Hank tossed the knife aside and warned, "Watch your mouths from now on." The two men were sweating bullets, nodding frantically. He took a wet wipe from his assistant and gently cleaned my hand. My heart was still pounding on the way home from the factory. If Hank, my sugar daddy, treated me this well, I couldn't imagine how well he'd treat Leo. I forced myself not to overthink it. You shouldn't long for things that don't belong to you. After arranging everything, I felt hollow inside. These past 3 years had been a beautiful dream. Now it was time to wake up. The moment Hank left for work, I got in a car to the airport. I left a note on the table. "Hank, thank you for the past 3 years. I want to end our arrangement. I wish you all the happiness." To make sure he couldn't find me, I took a connecting flight, then a regional train, and then a bus. After the bus, I took an unregistered local cab that didn't require an ID. I knew I was overreacting, but for the baby in my belly, I couldn't take the risk. I settled down in a small county town. My friend Dylan was my desk mate from high school. He was also one of the very few friends who knew I was intersex. He looked at my stomach, his brow furrowed. "There's really a baby in there?" I nodded. He gave me a thumbs up. "Julian, you're seriously a badass. I'm gonna be a godfather." I smiled, relieved. So this was a badass thing? Life in the small town was slow. Every day, I'd habitually check the financial news from New York. Hank rarely appeared. He seemed to have lost a lot of weight. I saw a photo of him and Leo attending a groundbreaking ceremony for a new building. They looked very well matched, standing together in their suits. I guess good news was just around the corner for them. So when I was walking out of the supermarket with Dylan, carrying our groceries, and I saw Hank, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I blinked. Hank looked travel-worn and exhausted. He strode over in a few steps and grabbed my wrist, his grip tight. "Julian, what the hell is this?" he growled. I came to my senses and explained softly. I made it very clear in the note. "We didn't sign a contract. You said I could end this arrangement whenever I wanted." He let out a bitter, angry laugh, his eyes dark. He ground out the words, "These past 3 years, did you really think we were just in a sugar daddy relationship? What kind of sugar daddy grants his baby every wish?" Who spoils them like I spoiled you? And you? You just leave without a word. Wish you happiness. Do you really hope I'll be happy with someone else? He was firing off too many questions. I answered the last one. Of course I do. You helped me a lot over these 3 years. Disappointment washed over Hank's face. Julian, what do you take me for? My benefactor. Hank scoffed and let go of my hand. He pointed at Dylan. Who's this? As the months went on, my belly was starting to show. I didn't want Hank to come looking for me again. So I lied, lowering my head. My boyfriend. A storm was brewing in Hank's eyes, a tempest about to break. Julian, you've got some nerve. You used me as your sugar daddy, and now that you've earned enough, you're off to pursue true love? I let my silence be my answer. Back at the apartment, Dylan clutched his chest, looking like he'd just survived a disaster. The way he was looking at me, I thought he was going to hit me. I cooked Dylan a big meal to thank him. After dinner, he had to leave for something else. That evening, there was a knock on the door. It was Hank. He stood outside, surveying the room. Your boyfriend lets you live in a place this shitty? He sneered. And he doesn't even stay the night with you? I think this apartment is great, I replied. He has his own things to take care of. Hank suddenly held up his phone and played a video. Things to take care of means going to a bar to drink and hit on girls? If you're going to lie, at least make it believable. I can't believe I was caught so easily. I bit my lip in frustration. Hank's tone suddenly softened. Julian, did something happen? No. Then come back with me. I can pretend this whole running away thing never happened. I'll make you understand the difference between a benefactor and a boyfriend. I looked up abruptly, staring at him in shock. Boyfriend? Hank's voice was sincere. Yes, boyfriend. I thought we were already on the same page, that this kind of thing didn't need to be said out loud. It's my fault. I should have made things clear with you. Felt like a dream. I asked softly, you like me? Hank's tone was exasperated. You ungrateful little thing. If I didn't like you, would I go around offending people in my circle for you? If I didn't like you, would I want to kill anyone who even thinks about you? If I didn't like you, would I sleep with you in my arms every night? The words tumbled out of my mouth. Then what about Leo? Isn't he the one you like? Hank frowned. What does Leo have to do with anything? None of it mattered anymore. I wasn't going to say anything else. But Hank started talking on his own. You think I like Leo? Who told you that? He and I are just childhood friends. There's nothing between us. Under his interrogation, I had no choice but to tell him about the video on my feed. Hank's expression turned ugly. He posted that, and I made him delete it 2 minutes later. He growled, I don't have an old flame. And you are not a stand-in. You and Leo look nothing alike. Who the hell is spreading these rumors? You're my first love. Tears welled up in my eyes. I was overwhelmed. I had never imagined Hank could like me, that someone like me could be loved, especially by someone like Hank. He reached out and pulled me into a hug, the light returning to his eyes. So you left because of Leo? Now that it's all cleared up, come back with me. I stepped out of his embrace. I'm not going back. Hank liked me, but could he love the baby in my stomach? Too? I had the urge to tell him, but I didn't dare risk it. Why? Hank asked, confused. Hasn't everything been explained? I shook my head. I didn't leave because of Leo. I just wanted to end the arrangement. Hank, you've been very good to me these last 3 years. Thank you. But we're not from the same world. You should go back. Don't come looking for me anymore. Hank stared at me intently, as if he could burn a hole right through me. I quickly shut the door. The next day, a new neighbor moved in next door. I didn't think much of it. I hadn't seen Hank around for a few days. He must have gone back. It would be a lie to say I wasn't disappointed. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. I had a hospital appointment today. The doctor said the baby was developing well. I took a stroll in the park, then went to the supermarket. On my way back to my apartment building, a drunk guy blocked my path. All alone? Why don't you take me back to your place for a bit? I live downstairs from you. I've been watching you for a while. I can tell you like guys too. I tried to walk around him. He grabbed my arm. I shook him off forcefully, and he stumbled and fell. I started running, hearing him cursing behind me. Fuck, playing hard to get. He threw a can at me. I almost stepped on it. As I dodged, I twisted my ankle. That brief pause was all he needed to catch up, cornering me against a wall. You little slut, who are you kidding? Sleeping with me would be a favor to you. His hand touched my face. I turned my head to avoid it, and he grabbed my chin hard. Go on, try to run again. I should have listened to Hank and learned Taekwondo. I stomped on his foot and screamed for help. I hadn't even gotten 3 feet before he caught me again. His strength was terrifying. Enraged, he kicked at me. I instinctively shielded my stomach. Just as I braced for the blow, I heard a scream. I looked up to see Hank with his foot on the man's back. He coolly ordered his driver, who was standing behind him, call the police. Hank pulled me out of my panic and into his arms, gently patting my back. Julian, it's okay now. I was terrified. If anything had happened to the baby, I would never have forgiven myself. Thank God Hank got there in time. Hank walked me into the apartment building. He held my hand tightly the whole way. When we reached my floor, he opened the door to the apartment next to mine. Before I could even process my surprise that he was my new neighbor, he pulled me inside, pinning me against the door and kissing me hard. I tried to pull away, but Hank held me fast. He only let me go when I was about to suffocate. He stared at me. What if I hadn't gotten here in time today? Julian, come back to New York with me. I refused. Hank, thank you for today, but I'm not going back. I opened the door to leave, but he pulled me back forcefully. In the struggle, the contents of my bag spilled out. My ultrasound report from the hospital. I scrambled to pick it up. Hank was faster. His expression was unreadable. After reading the report, he looked up, his eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions as he studied me. Julian, what is this? He glanced at my stomach, asking in confusion, You're pregnant? You can get pregnant? I trembled all over, terrified. I was on the verge of tears. Hank, I'll raise the baby myself. Please don't make me get rid of it. While he was distracted, I ran back to my apartment. He found out. Hank said he never wanted children. What would he do now that he knew? I was about to grab my suitcase and start packing when there was a loud pounding on the door. It sounded like he would keep banging until I opened it. I had no choice but to open it. Outside, Hank was leaning against the doorframe, his eyes red. He demanded, We're having a baby. Why would you hide such amazing news from me? I blinked, asking uncertainly, Amazing news? Of course, Hank replied quickly. He looked at my stomach. My baby is so amazing, carrying my child. It's been almost 2 months. Why didn't you tell me? I told him about my fears. Hank's brow furrowed. So you suddenly left because you were pregnant? You were afraid I'd force you to have an abortion? I nodded. Hank let out an exasperated laugh. Julian, is that the kind of person you think I am? You're carrying my child. I couldn't be happier. Why would I ever make you get rid of it? When I said I'd never have kids, it was because I wanted to be with you forever. I didn't know you could get pregnant back then. It's incredible. I started crying again. My nails dug into my palms. I was afraid this was all just a dream. Hank wiped away my tears and asked softly, Julian, do you like me? Yes. Hank smiled and took my hand. Baby, come home with me. I'll show you the difference between a sugar daddy and a husband. Before we went back to New York, Hank took Dylan out for dinner. He thanked him for taking care of me. He even gave Dylan the lease to a storefront he'd just rented for him to open a shop. Dylan was so ecstatic he was completely plastered. He threw an arm around my shoulder, saying he owed it all to me. Hank quickly knocked his hand away. Back in New York, life went on as usual. Hank hired 2 more housekeepers and a nutritionist for the house. That night, he kissed my mouth until it was swollen. His hand rested on my lower abdomen. How can my baby be so amazing? Can all intersex people get pregnant? I shook my head, saying shyly, the doctor said the chances are very small. Hank gave a meaningful smile and raised an eyebrow. So it's because we do it so much? I gave him a glare that had no heat behind it. He pulled my hand and pressed it against a certain spot. Don't look at me like that. I was speechless. Hank's hands started to wander, from my legs to my waist, and then to my chest. Baby, they've gotten much bigger again. Is it because of the pregnancy? My face was beet red. During pregnancy, that area became even more sensitive. Curled my toes. The next day, Hank had me sign several documents. They were all stock transfer certificates and gift agreements. I didn't want to sign them. You've already given me so much. Hank insisted. Everything I have belongs to my wife. I never thought Leo would find me. It was in a park near Hank's house. Leave Hank. I'll give you $10 million. You two aren't right for each other. He's just novelty for him. His family will never let you be together forever. In the past, I might have believed him. I would have been heartbroken in silence. But after coming back from that small town, Hank had given me so much security. I replied coolly, "Who are you to Hank? What gives you the right to say these things to me?" He was taken aback, clearly surprised by my response. "We'll see about that." When I got home, I told Hank everything. Hank called Leo, cursed him out, and then blocked him on everything. He cut off all business dealings with Leo's family. He also cut ties with all the people who had spread those rumors. Back in our school days, Leo confessed to me. I rejected him right then and there. After he went abroad, somehow he inexplicably became my one that got away in other people's stories. The more Hank talked, the angrier he got. I only have one partner. Why does everyone want to mess with us? I smoothed the wrinkles on his forehead. But those are your friends. Are you really not going to contact them anymore? Hank shrugged. They're just fair weather friends. Real friends don't spread rumors and cause trouble. Hank said I did a good job this time. That when things like this happen, I should tell him, not hide them in my heart and let my imagination run wild. He even gave me a special reward. My belly was getting more and more obvious. I wanted to sleep all day. Hank moved most of his work home. One afternoon, I woke up from a nap to find the front of my t-shirt damp. When I smelled a milky scent, I buried myself under the covers in shame. During the pregnancy, I'd done a lot of research. This was a normal phenomenon in the third trimester. The bedroom door opened, and footsteps approached. Hank gently lifted the covers and lay down on the bed. His hand rested on my waist. I could feel Hank's scorching gaze on me. He chuckled. "Julian, don't pretend to be asleep." I had no choice but to open my eyes. Hank sniffed the air. "Did you drink some milk?" I buried my face in his chest, my cheeks burning. "No," I mumbled. It didn't take long for Hank to figure it out. At first he was worried, but after learning it was normal, he relaxed. After a moment of stunned silence, a light gleamed in Hank's eyes. "Julian, you really are my treasure." Hank drank it all. He licked his lips, looking like he wanted more. As ashamed as I was, a sense of satisfaction spread through me. Hank had found a new daily pleasure. But he could be mean too. Once, when I was uncomfortably full, he leaned against the headboard, coolly looking at his lap. "Get on yourself. Bring them to me yourself." I glared at him. It was too uncomfortable. I had no choice but to do as he said. Hank still wouldn't help me. He asked slowly, "Are you ever going to run away again?" I bit my lower lip and shook my head. "Call me husband." "Husband." Hank finally leaned down. 3 months later, our baby was born. His nickname is Sam. I was walking with the baby in the garden when I heard arguing from the living room. "Hank, I can compromise on you being with a man, but he has to be from a family of equal standing. You picked up some random guy just to piss me off about the marriage I arranged for you. Haven't you had enough fun? Break up with that Julian person immediately." It was Hank's father's voice. Hank's tone was flippant. "You know, I should thank you. If I wasn't trying to piss you off, where else would I have found such a wonderful husband?" A gust of wind blew through the garden, and Sam started crying. I carried him inside. When Hank's father saw me, he clutched his chest and pointed, roaring, "Hank, are you trying to kill me? You get a man for a husband, fine, but you find one who already has a kid." Hank walked over and took the baby from me. All right, don't scare your grandson." His father's eyes widened as he looked uncertainly at Sam. "This is your son? Where did he come from?" Hank looked at me, his voice swelling with pride. My husband gave birth to him. It took Hank's father a full day to process the fact that I had given birth to a child. Then he did a complete 180. He gifted me a yacht and a private jet. The house was filled with toys he'd bought for Sam. That night, after Sam was asleep, Hank wrapped his arms around me from behind. Don't pay any attention to him. Just take whatever he gives you. After Sam was born, Hank suggested we have Grandma come live with us. But she couldn't bear to leave her friends at the retirement community. She just said she would visit us anytime. On a crisp autumn afternoon, Hank and I took Sam to the nursing home. Grandma held Sam, her smile gentle and kind. As we left, the sweet scent of autumn blossoms filled the air. Hank held Sam with one arm and me with the other. We talked about the past. I lamented how hard my grandma used to have it. Hank said emotionally, "Thank you, Grandma, for raising you so well. My Julian is not a monster. He's a rare treasure. He's the most precious gift heaven ever gave me." I turned my head to look at Hank and smiled brightly. "And aren't you the same for me?"